welcome back to the gun bench. I wasn't planning on doing a video tonight for two reasons. First, my voice, if you can tell, if you listen to my other videos, is a little hoarse. So I'm a physical education teacher, and it's the end of the year. Elementary students are crazy, and I am just getting my voice back. And secondly, I haven't really been focusing on 12 gauges at all. However, this gun is on my bench because I shot it last weekend in a tournament, a handicap trap tournament, and I did not clean the barrels. I wiped down the outside with oil, but I did not actually go in and scrub the barrels down yet. I know, evil me, awful. It's been a busy week. But when I walked down here, I was like, you know what? It's on the bench. I have all my Fox stuff around it. We'll take a look at it. So this is going to be brief, but I just wanted you to be introduced to the Fox pin gun. So Fox is a gun company that I think is really cool for the simple fact that I live right down the road from where the original factory was in Philadelphia. I can get there in about a 20-minute car ride. If there's no traffic and no traffic lights, I could probably get there even faster than that. It's literally just a few miles from where I live here in Pennsylvania. And it's one of the few guns that were manufactured here in Pennsylvania. We talk about vintage double barrel shotguns. So if we take a look at this gun, a lot of people are going to be like, wait, this is a Fox, it's not a Parker. Well, yes, this is a Fox. And it's funny, whenever I take this thing to a shoot, if I'm hunting with it, everyone's like, oh, you have a beautiful Parker. They'll make a comment about Parker, because of the recessed pin here. And I'll be like, well, wait a second. I know it looks like a Parker. It is not. It is actually a Fox pin gun or recessed pin gun. So these guns were made for about 2 years, 1911 to 1913, somewhere in that range. They were made here in Philadelphia. So if we take a closer look at this gun, you will note that is called the Sterlingworth. You'll see that the engraving on it is pretty simple. You just have some border engraving. There's still some case color on this. It's in okay condition. I beat it a little bit. You can tell there's a little bit of a crack in the stock. But if we take a quick look here, has the recessed pin, very similar to a Parker. If we take a look at the barrels, you see it's made by Fox Gun Company, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Sterlingworth fluid compressed steel. So if you do have a pin gun, or if you've come across a pin gun, not all of them will say that. They'll have something a little bit or slightly different sometimes. So some of the actual guns won't say Fox on them. They might say the Sterlingworth Gun Company, if I remember that correctly. But Fox, as you can tell by the subtitle here on this Macintosh book, which is a wonderful biography of the man, of Fox himself. Fox, he marketed everything as being the finest in the world. So he wasn't just a gun maker. He had tons of patents. He worked on cars. He worked on all kinds of things. But he always marketed them as the finest in the world. With the Sterlingworth line of guns, he didn't originally want his name associated with them because they weren't considered to be good enough for him. This changed because now you can see that Sterlingworth has his name on it. But before that, there are some earlier guns that don't actually have his name on them. He didn't want to be associated with them. But this is a really nice American-made field-grade gun. So, in my opinion, at the time, and again, this is my opinion, as far as field-grade guns go, the Sterlingworth, for the price when they were originally made, were a phenomenal gun for the value. The internals on this gun and just about everything mechanically about the gun will be the same or very similar to the graded guns. So I have a Fox BE that was made in 1910. So grade B, BE meaning there's also ejectors, E on that. And it is essentially the same gun, just has shorter barrels, has nicer engraving on it, has a nicer piece of wood. The checkering is a little more ornate. But aside from that, the guns are almost identical. My other gun, the B grade, doesn't have a recessed pin, but everything else very similar. This gun is equipped with a pretty standard piece of walnut, has decent checkering on it. If we take a look here, there are some cracks. I have a crack forming here. We're actually formed here. Seems to be pretty solid. Have some issues around the tang. This gun was actually sent to Buck Hamlin, and he did some stock work on it. I thought because I actually hunt with this gun pretty hard. I thought that I broke the stock. I fell down a mountain in Potter County here, grouse hunting, and I landed on the stock. I really thought I was going to get up and the gun was going to be snapped in half. I got lucky and just dinged it. But in any case, this gun is pretty decent. The forearms on these, they just pull off. There's a spring in here that holds the actual forearm to the lug. So if you just apply a little pressure here, it'll pop off. There's no latch or any type of mechanism on the outside to pull it off. But it's a very, very standard, basic field grade type gun. Again, I don't care if you see my serial numbers. Doesn't mean anything to me. But you see everything's still in alignment. Basic border engraving, that recessed pin. Most of these guns have 30-inch barrels. Most of them have extractors, not ejectors. There are a few pin guns that do have ejectors, not a ton. Most of them as well are pretty tightly choked with the 30-inch barrels if they haven't been cut down. But in general, these are really nice American-made, field-grade, like bottom-of-the-barrel type guns for the time. A hardware store gun, almost, if you will. A little nicer than that. But they're a fun gun to shoot. They're really nice. If you want to learn a little bit more about Fox, there's the A.H. Fox Collectors Association. There's also this wonderful book by Michael McIntosh. It's really the definitive biography of Fox. There is more information available about the guns than when he published. But really, if you want to learn about Fox, this is a great read. It talks about all of his gun ventures, his ventures in other industries, his personal life, everything that Michael McIntosh could find. Now, this gun in particular, if there's a collector out there, it's not in perfect condition, so don't hate me. I had the chambers lengthened as well as the forcing cones. These were shorter chambered guns, usually 2 9/16 inch instead of the standard 2 3/4. I wanted to be able to shoot 2 3/4 inch shells out of this. So I had a gunsmith open this up for me just so I can shoot those more safely or reduce the pressures a little bit. So for instance, I like to use these things for ducks. So I reload these bismuth shells. I didn't feel like reloading 2 1/2 inch. It's just a lot easier, and there's a lot more load data for 2 3/4. So in any case, this has been opened up. Just makes it more versatile for me. I can use it in more competitions more easily. I don't have to really worry about ammo availability. But these guns are really cool. There are other guns that are made by Fox. So before he had the A.H. Fox Gun Company, he also had Philadelphia Arms. So if you see a gun that has this recessed pin, it could also possibly be a Philadelphia Arms gun. They are out there. They do exist. They're a little more rare. Eventually, I would like to get one just because being from this area, being from Pennsylvania, I think it's a really cool piece of just local history. But I do not have one yet. He was also involved with a lot of other gun makers as well. He was a professional trap shooter. He was, when they sold off some of his assets, they went to Baltimore Arms. Don't have one of those yet either, maybe someday. But in any case, Fox guns, I think, just in general, in my opinion, are probably one of the nicer American-made guns when you look at just the entry-level guns. They're simple, they're robust, they work really well, they're balanced phenomenally, especially for being, like this being a Sterlingworth model. I shoot this thing phenomenally. The drop in the stock and everything's great for me. Also, the weight, typically I think this one's 7 1/4, might be a little less than that. It's a pretty light 12 gauge for being 30-inch barrels and not really the stock being adjusted for weight too much. But yeah, they're a pretty decent gun. They're a lot of fun to shoot. If you find a Sterlingworth, it's a decent price, it's in good shape. It's a pretty nice gun to pick up, especially if you're looking for sub gauges. The Fox 16s and 20s are phenomenal. Just handle one, you'll know what I'm talking about, especially if you're like of average build. If you're like a huge guy or a real small guy, maybe, or woman, it might not be the case for you. But in general, the guns are just balanced really well. The frames are pretty thin. They're pretty sleek gun, especially for the Sterlingworth being one of those entry-level guns. So in any case, this is a Fox bin gun. Now I need to take the barrels off and scrub them clean. I only shot 2 rounds. Did I shoot 2 or 3 rounds? I can't remember. The handicap round I shot, I ended up winning, not the bacon, but I ended up winning a piece of pork. What was it? It was a pork tenderloin, for winning a competition with this the other day, which I was shocked. I haven't shot handicap trap in forever. Then I shot normal trap with it. I was shooting like a 22, 23 with it. I probably should have shot a little better. It's a really nice gun. You can still go out there and beat guys who are shooting over-unders and single barrel trap guns pretty easily with these old guns. If you see one, if you're looking to see if it's a Parker, well, almost all the Sterlingworths have this same scalloped shape here. It's really a telltale sign. Parkers are very different. The screws here are completely different. You'll be able to tell pretty quickly, especially if you look at the markings. But yeah, these were only made for, I think, about 2 years, 1911 to 1913. Philadelphia Arms Company also was a pretty short-lived gun company, so you might see some recessed pins with those as well. But any questions, comments, corrections, shoot them in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed this. This is, again, A.H. Fox. This is a Sterlingworth gun, but a recessed pin gun. Also, these patches are awesome. You might have seen my L.C. Smith one. I have a Parker one as well. They're made by people here in the good old U.S. of A. If you're interested in where to find these, there's a guy on the forums who has these made. He runs orders when there's just enough interest. But they're pretty cool. Again, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, right down the road from where I live. Someday I'll go see the abandoned factory. But in any case, I hope you all have a good night, and I'm going to let my voice rest.